Only way to fail is to quit, right? And quit is just like stop doing the action. But success and failure is on the same road. Failure is just an earlier exit.
The best thing I ever did in my life was just starting an agency. If you haven't started an agency now and you're consuming the content about agencies, like what are you doing? End of the day, you could fail, you could make zero money, but like, why would you just not do it? Especially when you're seeing people like you who've had this amount of success. It's like, just start it, do the input, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, cool, at least you tried.
An agency is the most zero risk business you can start. You're not losing anything. Like, you might say you're losing time, but what you're building in that time is skill sets. Like, when you look at a job application, like an entry level role, it's like packed. But like the CEO role, there's like 3. There's no competition at the top because everyone's too scared to think big and aim high.
Yo, what's up, boys? So we're here with Andro. He does agency stuff in South Africa. We wanted to sit down, talk about, his journey through starting an agency in South Africa, because there's obviously not that many people who do it. So it's going to be an interesting story to hear. So what's up, bro? You good?
Thanks for having me, bro. It's a pleasure to be here. We are out here in South African sun. It's not too hot at the moment. We're kind of used to it, but it's nice to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's pretty hot. I mean, people from all over the world are coming here at Cape Town at the moment because, the summer's amazing. Yeah. It's been crazy how many entrepreneurs have been coming here in the last month or two.
I mean, a couple of Swedish boys are here, and they're not used to the Cape Town sun.
Yeah.
Like the first couple of days, they came back after the beach just like krief, red. But obviously when you get into like the sun exposure things, obviously like the biohacking, I'm very into that as well. Like you want to kind of, gradually do it, the sun exposure, to really get like the tan on. But
yeah, for sure. So for anyone watching, I obviously introduce yourself, but why don't you tell them a bit more about who you are, what you do, and kind of just tell people
of course,
exactly what's happening.
Essentially around, when people say, when did you start this whole thing, is like, it's difficult to really say. Because do I say in the womb, like when I was born, like where do we even start? Like when I was taking courses, but like I usually just say when I was starting making money from my agency. That was around 18 months ago. So just more than a year and a half ago, I started this whole agency journey, went through the courses, agency navigator. I actually spent over $30,000 on my education thus far. Like your first course is not necessarily going to bring, all the value to you. It's like you need to really test a couple things, even waste some money here and there with coaches and stuff like that. So I spent quite a lot of money on education, and then that essentially got me to my first like 200,000 or so generated with the agency.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, so correct me if I'm wrong, you run a content agency, right?
Exactly, yeah. So essentially content agency, working with like big personal brands. We've worked with Mike Tyson, was a pretty big name. Mark Moss as well. Trey Drexler's got like 1 million subscribers. Pretty like Lark Davis as well. So, big personal brands, that's usually our main target audience. And we just help them grow even more, because that's like the main thing, is attention, right? Like everyone wants more attention, which leads to leads, and more money. Like that's what it leads to, while also growing your brand at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the actual deliverables, what are you doing? Short form, what else?
Yeah, so back in 2022, I actually started working with Iman Gadji. I was part of his content team, so I didn't blow up his brand or anything like that. I was just like a short form editor managing like 3 short form accounts. Mm-hmm. But like when I was working with him, I was like, oh my goodness, this strategy that he's using is insane. Like I was like, there was a content manager working for us as well. So I was like the content editor. And then there was a content manager called Spencer, like shout out Spencer if you're watching. And I'm like, I want to be a Spencer for other personal brands.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the manager managing like the short form team. And that's exactly what I'm doing at this moment.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like, obviously, working for someone like Iman? I know he hires a lot out of South Africa. Exactly. So I'm guessing he posted a job description hiring from South Africa. Tell me what that experience was like and what you kind of gained from it.
Yeah, so this was quite a while back, like, June of 2022. Mm-hmm. He had 180,000 subscribers and like, I think 50,000 followers on Instagram. So he's got like 2 million now. It's a completely different ball game. So when he put up an Instagram story, it's like, I'm looking for some content editors, looking to expand the team. I was like, I don't want to do this whole university thing. Like, so I filled out like an application form. I got the job that way. But the funny thing is, like my laptop was so bad when I was starting out. I had like this, I don't even know the name. It was definitely not a MacBook. Okay, so I started there. I went on like the Zoom call for like the review process, right, for the team. I hopped on, my mic didn't even work. Like I was like freaking out because this was at the time 1,500 USD.
Per month, what they were paying you.
Yes, and then it went up to 3,000 USD, and that's when I felt my absolute richest, but we can go into that. And I was on the laptop, and like the mic wasn't working. I was like, this was my one time chance of working with Iman, and I screwed it up. But luckily Spencer was very kind and he said, you know, we can reschedule. And then I hopped on a call with my iPhone and then I got the job that way. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, like basic skills, like editing, you know, whatever it may be, design, graphics, like these skills kind of just open up so many doors to starting more shit, right?
Yeah.
So even with me, I was an editor / videographer for years. And then it kind of led to a content agency once I figured out, oh, you can actually make a proper business out of it. So what was that process like for you transitioning from just an editor to an actual agency owner?
Yeah, so that's obviously where I learned the first skills, and the most important thing is skill acquisition. Like you can lose everything, but if you still have the skills, you know you can get back to that income level again. Or you won't like starve to death essentially because you've got that skill set. But the process essentially, so I saw Spencer doing that, I'm like, I want to do that. At the time he was making, I think $20,000 a month, essentially managing the team and not really doing anything, as like a CEO of the team essentially. And I was like, I want to do that. And the process was like, you know, it was not easy. Like I went through Agency Navigator. I started my gym agency. So that's how I started because I was very into the fitness. I'm like, yo, let's just help some gyms out, you know. That didn't work out at all. I did, you know, when you search on Google, like gyms near me, but like I searched gyms in London and I called every single gym in the UK, or like UK, twice, every single gym. And I booked like, I don't know, 20 meetings or so, didn't close a single client. And, you know, people don't see that. Like I've posted it maybe once or twice on my story, but like people, during that time, I didn't want to share this. Like, you know, I'm actually working and it's pretty embarrassing, right? So I started that kind of failed. But like the only way to fail is to quit. So I really quit that business. And then I hopped on a call with Emmanuel. He was like Iman Gaji's sales manager, right? I hopped on a call with him. I was like, do I continue this gym agency of mine or do I pivot into the content agency? He's like, bro, leave the gym agency, go straight into content. And then I did just that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that it's kind of misinterpreted, like let's say someone posts a case study from their mentorship, like 0 to 50K in a week or some crazy number. Most of the time, these people have had agencies before, you know, it didn't work out. It's not like, it's very rare that someone's a complete beginner, never having done this before, and they completely blow up within the first couple of months. And I feel like a lot of people, they start because they see these case studies or whatever, and then they think that automatically as a beginner, they're just gonna, you know, scale to 50K per month in the first month.
Exactly.
So I mean, for you, how long were you first doing that? Now, how long was it when you actually started like looking into internet money versus you actually started making money?
So making decent money out in South Africa, I would say like 10K a month. But the funny thing is when I started my agency, like my new content agency, in 4 months I was in 4 months I made $20,000, something like that. So per month. And then in my first month of signing clients, I made 12,600. So like it happened pretty quickly, but what they don't see is that, you know, for 2 years prior, I was doing the courses and getting literally nothing. I would say probably for like 18 months, like going through the courses, you know, starting with Agency Navigator, probably like 12 months, I would say, I was making no money, like literally nothing with my agency. You know, doing the cold calls, stuff like that. I did that for 4 to 6 months, just built up the skill set, made no money. And then from there, I was like, yo, bro, what's going on? And then I pivoted into the content agency, and that was also extremely hard work. I was doing, you know, cold outreach, cold emails, because that's essentially all you can do when you're starting out. I did that for like 6 months, and then obviously I made like 20K in a month.
I'm curious, looking back at your gym agency, what do you think was holding you back, if you can look at it from an outside of you now?
Yeah, so the main thing is, like I didn't really understand the market as well. Obviously I was pretty new into it, but like I didn't give it enough time to really understand the client I'm dealing with. Like right now, I've been doing this content agency for a while now, like over a year, and I know exactly like what they want, how they want to deliver it, everything like that. So I just didn't give it enough time. Like my skills were just terrible. Like, you know, I was still doing like 100 dials a day, cold calling, but I wasn't like actually persuasive on the calls. You know, the one guy can do 100 calls and book like 20 meetings, and another guy can still do 100 calls, same inputs, but his skill level is not at that stage where you can book the 20 meetings. So I wasn't at that skill level, and that obviously takes some time, but like I was just like, no, just do the emails. That would be better.
Yeah, I mean, it applies to emails, applies to DMs, anything. Like, sure, you can do all these inputs. You can send 500 messages a day or whatever. But if the message is terrible, you're not going to get anyone. So it's like, you kind of have to learn the secrets from, you know, someone's mentorship or someone ahead of you, and they're going to tell you, no, that message that you just sent is terrible. You're not going to close anyone. But without that, it's like you could spend months, or even what you did, you spent a long time doing the inputs, but because they were the wrong, you know, the wrong messages, the wrong templates, whatever it was, you got nothing. So I think that's one of the big benefits of, you know, I don't have a course for anyone. I'm not promoting my own, but like I've invested a ton into, you know, programs because someone can simply tell you, no, that message is never going to book you a meeting. Don't send that. And now you've saved yourself 3 months of sending the wrong message and booking no meetings.
That's the thing about courses and like mentorship in general, is like you are actually making and saving so much money by investing in courses.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like here's how I explain it. It's like, you know, you can, when I invested in programs and stuff like that, I was on a sales school and I said, I can 100% do this on my own. Like without a doubt, I can do this on my own. But the thing is, I would rather do it in 4 months rather than 2 years. And the thing is, in those 4 months, I achieved my goal and I was making like an extra $200,000 a year. I made an extra 200,000 where if I had have done it on my own, I would have made no money. So maybe I invested 10K, but I made an extra 200. So if you minus that, I was making $190,000 extra by investing in courses and not doing it on my own.
Yeah, for sure. And quickly take me back, like what kind of made you get into the online space? Like it's very different for some people. Some people, they hate their 9 to 5. I'm assuming you started quite young, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, so yeah, when I mentioned $3,000 when I was working with Iman Gadji, I was around 19, 20 when I was making that money. And that was like life-changing, especially in a third world country like South Africa.
Yeah.
Like 50,000 Rand a month, or like 55,000 Rand a month. Like that's insane, especially from zero.
Yeah.
Like people usually study, get a degree for 4 or 5 years, work up a bit, like 2, 3 years, like let's say 7 to 8 years later, they're making that kind of money in a company. I made that in like 2 months as like a 19, 20-year-old. You know, obviously there's 19-year-olds making like $1 million a month, but like at that stage, it's all perspective, right? And I was like, yo, this is the absolute richest I've ever felt. Like just that jump is insane. And once I got a taste of that freedom, it was impossible to go back. Like you can't go back after that. You know, I think Naval also mentioned, Naval Ravikant, like I just love that guy. He wrote a tweet that said, if you first experience like freedom, you can't be employed anymore. It's impossible. So you would go broke and then start again because you've taken the red pill essentially when it comes to freedom,
Yeah, it's like no matter what, let's say our agencies went to zero, everything happened, there's no way we would ever go get a job. Like obviously maybe to get some extra cash, but you just can't go back.
It's like a stepping stone maybe.
Yeah, it's impossible. So in your first year, you obviously did crazy well with your content agency. What would you say was the biggest contributing factor to that? What kind of changed? What were the main things?
Yes, so what was the thing? So essentially the mentorship helped a lot. So I was in Charlie Morgan's mentorship. I was one of his best case studies. If you go on his like YouTube, like Easy Growth Testimonials, I'm like top 4 in there. So that helped quite a lot. It helped me with the mindset type of thing. Like it literally changed my entire paradigm. And also it just gave me exactly what I needed to do. So with like the gyms, I knew I was doing inputs here and there, like not really optimizing, not tracking, but with the mentorship, like I knew exactly what I needed to do and I just had to execute. That's all. Just like do this for like, you know, how long ever it takes. Just do that and you will get the outputs. That's the main thing. Like I knew this will get the result. But with the gym, it was like I was just doing a lot of work, but I don't necessarily know how that was equating to outputs and more clients. Like I didn't really know that entire process. But it's just getting like tangible on the inputs and knowing that will get the outputs. And just ruthlessly executing on that. Like some days I would work from 6 till 3 a.m. So, you know, like 4 months. But that's obviously what it takes. And it's almost like a filter, you know. Everyone experiences the same journey. For like the first, like I would say 6 months, you're going to see no results, nothing. Everyone, like 95% of entrepreneurs experience the exact same journey. First 6 months, no results. That's like a filter to see if you're actually about it. Like if you can actually stick through that, work for 6 to 12 months, usually 6 to 12, you get no results. And if you can still delay gratification and actually see your way out, that's like a filter for those who want it and those who don't.
Yeah, I mean, people just quit so early with everything nowadays. Like, let's say growth operating, that shit came up a couple months back. Then everyone jumps on that. They quit their agency. Now they want to get to the next shiny object thing. And when you're actually doing the correct inputs, like if you send X amount of emails every month, you send X amount of DMs and they're using the right messaging, you've got your good landing page, there's no reason why you shouldn't book meetings. If you just
Yes.
stick with it long enough. And it's like when you have someone to tell you, okay, just do those things, you will get it. Just stick with it.
Yeah.
That's when you see success.
Actually, I want to show you something. So when I was in the Cape Town villa, it was like a week ago, there in Camps Bay, I was going through how I, we essentially hired 7 outbound setters, right? And I was essentially showcasing the systems and the numbers behind signing clients, right? And people were like, what, do you think like that? And I was like, what, doesn't everyone think like this? So I want to quickly share with you.
Sure.
It's just basic maths, okay? So let me just open up my calculator. So essentially, we got 7, and this is all based on industry averages and what I've seen in the past and stuff like that. So I'm going to do live maths. That never goes well. Okay, so we got 7 outbound setters sending, like, at the peak, it's going to be, well, let's just say 6 because one's doing inbound, okay? 6, and then we got 80 is like the maximum you can send from Instagram, okay? So it's 80. So that's 480 DMs a day, okay? And most people don't think like this, but I always think like this. So 480 a day times 5 is 2,400 DMs a week, okay? And that's 1 week, so obviously times 4, 9,600 DMs a day, okay? So that's 9,600 DMs a month.
Yeah.
A month going out, okay? And then let's say with a 1% appointment booking rate to be pessimistic. Like with these results, you always want to be pessimistic. So not like you don't always want to be. You actually in the macro you want to be optimistic, but pessimistic you want like the worst case scenario, and you're like, oh wow, that's actually still good.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst case. Okay, so 96 bookings a month, and let's say 70% show up. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 67 meetings a month, and let's say, not everyone's going to be qualified. Let's say like 20% close rate. That's like a bit better than average. I know it's inbound as well. So times 0.2. So that's 13 clients a month. And our package is 4,800 USD. So that's 64,000 in revenue generated. Like that's how it works. And not everyone's going to pay in full. I know that, but over let's say 6 months, the contracted value is going to be 64K a month.
Yeah. And it's like
That's
people
how it
need to
works.
actually see these numbers to understand that it is possible. Like that is genuinely how it works. It's literally just do the correct inputs, and then once you've got a proven way of doing something, you simply just scale it up.
Exactly. And
That's
just do
all
more
it
inputs.
is. Yeah, that's all it is. One thing I wanted to touch back on when you're talking about the 55K per month from the editing, as South Africans,
Wait, 55K a month?
editing for Imangaji.
55,000 rand.
Yeah. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
So even in that type of money here is a lot of money, and people don't, obviously if there's people watching from overseas, they're like, okay, $2,000, $3,000, it's not a lot of money. But as South Africans watching this, like you should be so motivated by the fact that you can earn in dollars and live an insane life here.
Yes.
I mean, you're a testament to that.
Yeah.
Like obviously you're earning a lot more than that now, but you really don't have to, it's not super unachievable to make like 50,000 Rand a month, like 100,000 Rand a month. And I feel like a lot of people from South Africa, they're not exposed to this type of stuff. So when they see these types of numbers, 100,000 Rand a month, that's impossible. Like that's a 5K per month.
Bro, one of our clients has paid us 2 million Rand.
Wow.
One client. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, and that's all US, obviously.
Yeah.
But that comes to like a good service, getting, because they stayed with us for like 11 months. Yeah.
I mean, you look at it like an average high ticket client, let's say 2.5 to 3K per month. Like you obviously have something higher, I think, but like that's the average retainer. That's 5K per month of 2 clients.
Yeah.
As a South African, you can sign 2 clients and you're already making, close to 100,000 Rand a month.
Exactly.
That's kind of how simple it is.
Yeah.
And people just need to, go out and actually start this shit and actually try it because it simply does work.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's easier to sign a US client than it is a South African client.
For sure.
Like, for them, $2,000 is like, bro, you're undercharging. It's like, why aren't you charging more? Because then you're like a commodity service when you're charging 2K a month. But when you're at like 5K and you can actually deliver on that results, you're actually going to sign more clients as well. Because it's different from the rest, You don't want to really price based on what everyone is charging, because then you're just like a commodity. It's like, I'm just going to go with the cheaper one, But when you price like, we charge like 10K a month for our services, right? It's a lot, especially for a lot of people. But the thing is, in the US, but the thing is like, they're making like 100 to 200K a month. It's like, it's pennies for them, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to solve rich people problems because they pay better, like Alex Emoji says. Yeah.
For sure. So I'm guessing in your mentorship, you're just telling people straight, charge US clients, don't even care about South Africans. How many South Africans are there in your program, by the way? Do you get quite a lot?
Yeah, we got like 1,300 people at the moment.
and good amount of South Africans.
Yeah, it's like I would say 90% South Africans.
Okay.
We got a free community as well as 20 hours of free content helping you sign your first couple of clients, all free. Like we want to, especially in this space, I feel like people are very transactional. Like they just want money. They don't care about their clients. That's very important. Like every single client we sign on, we do one-on-one calls. We want to get them as much results as possible because selfishly speaking, that's also how you make more money.
Case studies, bro.
Yeah, it's like getting them good results. The only way to really grow a company is by increasing LTV. Is by making your clients stay longer. And how do you do that? Get them results quick and fast. So we still do the one-on-one mentorship. We value every single client we sign on. We obviously still in the infant stages. Like we started like the community 4 months ago, right? So it's still it's like we barely started. And I feel like there's a massive demand at the moment, especially in South Africa, seeing like these people online making good money. And I just want to like help people out, especially for free as well.
Yeah.
And also, just to be honest, it's free, but it helps them. It takes them from 0 to 1, Maybe they sign 1 or 2 clients, but they can't really scale past that. And what's the next logical step? Once we get them from like, let's say $0 to $2,000 a month, is to get them to the paid community and upsell them, right? But it's all for free, so.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm curious, if you started your content agency over, is there anything you would do differently if you're starting from 0? What would be those first types of inputs? How would you get started ASAP?
Yeah, so I would definitely work with rich people first, but I did that as well. I would say I did pretty well. Like, I would maybe increase inputs even more. Like, if you want to get to $100,000 a month, like it's all about increasing inputs. And that means sending more DMs, sending more cold emails, doing more ads, or doing content. Like that's all you really can do. And obviously we got a podcast as well, shooting another podcast, we're doing content. We just hired setters, like I mentioned. Like I'm practicing what I'm preaching as well. Doing more inputs. We hired 7 setters, sending like, how much was it? Now 560 DMs a day. And we're gonna start running ads pretty soon as well. But we just want to get the organic going first, just actually see if the system is working, then we can throw some money behind it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And for the South African people watching, I want to just address them real quick. I'm sure there's a lot of misconceptions people have and a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to the stuff. What would you say, from working with people, South Africans, in your mentorship, in your free community, what would you say are the biggest misconceptions about making money in South Africa, and what's kind of holding them back?
Yeah, the biggest thing I found, and this is so funny, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means that you believe it, therefore it comes true. Okay, so a lot of people say, oh, I hop on a sales call and they hear my South African accent and they're like, oh, I don't work with South Africans.
Yeah,
like,
that's such bullshit.
I get the complete opposite. Like I've done over 300 sales calls, close to 400 now, and not a single one of them said, oh, I don't like your accent, I'm not going to work with you. It's actually the opposite. They're like, oh, I hop on the call, I'm like, oh, where are you from? They're like, Texas, whatever. And I say, oh, I'm from South Africa. Or they ask, where you from? I say, I'm from South Africa. They're like, oh, I love South Africa. Weather's amazing. I've got a client in South Africa. It's always just positive things. So what you believe comes true. And that rings true with like limiting beliefs as well. Like what you believe will come true. So if you believe signing clients is easy, if you believe people love South Africans, if you believe all of these things that will help you make more money and grow your business, it will happen. So it all comes down to limiting beliefs. And we actually had a hypnotist here the other day, and like he actually works with like very high level entrepreneurs and like breaking down the limiting beliefs. Even people making like $10 million a year. He worked with those people, and he did like a free hypnosis session with us. And like what he does is he gets his brain into theta state, so your brain waves are much slower. Okay. Like right now we are in a beta state. So the frequency is a bit faster, we are alert, we are thinking. But when you're like relaxing, like the first 5 minutes when you wake up, you're like a bit daisy, and the last 5 minutes when you go to sleep, that's when like theta state, sorry. And you can even do it as well by just getting like 2 deep breaths and just like relaxing yourself, like a meditation kind of. And then through that, it's easier to reprogram your subconscious mind and break down those limiting beliefs. So what you can do is, just get yourself in that theta state, slow yourself down, and just get like affirmation and stuff like that. That helps a lot. Like you're essentially reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Yeah, I think the thing about people wanting to hire from South Africa is so huge. Like,
oh yeah,
all the time, South Africa has a great reputation for hiring. That's why Iman hires out of here. So when you tell them that you're South African, it's almost like a bonus.
Yes.
The way I see it.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's one thing. Like people really should not see that as something holding them back.
Yeah, it's like people think it's a disadvantage. It's the biggest advantage ever, because you're getting paid less. Obviously, you're charging in dollars, but you're gonna charge a bit less because you're getting in rand.
Yeah.
So
you're able to do that. That's a benefit though. Like let's say when you're starting out, you don't want to charge fucking 10K per month.
Yeah.
You can say I can still charge 2K per month, bro. That's still 40,000 rand.
Exactly. Bro,
Getting
that's
closer.
amazing.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, but you wanna charge more. Like,
of course.
What you're charging, like I would say, I'll even tell people when they say, oh, can I start with like a free trial? Never do that. Like I would never do that, because if people do a free trial, it's like, why would they pay you money if you just did it for free? Like maybe the first client, you sign for a free trial, but you know you're not gonna get them as a real client. Maybe do the free trial just to test things out. And the funny thing is as well, it's the exact same energy required to sign a free trial client than it is to charge a 2.5K client a month.
Yeah.
The exact same energy is required. So I just say, start with a 2.5. Like my first client I signed was $2,500 a month. First client. Don't know what I was doing, had terrible sales skills. Like I didn't even know how I was going to deliver on the service. Like what is onboarding? Like I knew nothing, and I made 50K in a day like that.
Yeah. I think with the free trial thing, it's like you can do it, but to a certain extent. Like I never, like one of my introductory offers to people to get them into my ecosystem is like a paid 2-week trial. But like there's no way I could financially stably do a free 2-week trial for every single person who might be interested.
Exactly.
It's like you can't do that. But then what I do if someone's super qualified and like they're a good connection, I'll do like one free video, and I'll then from there it's like I actually have an upsell system, so I know how to get them from the free thing or from the 2-week trial onto a paid retainer. Because if you don't actually know how to conduct the upsell process, like you're literally just doing free work for the sake of it.
Yeah.
It's like what's the point?
Does Alex Emoji do a free trial?
No.
No. But like obviously not at that stage yet, but you want to kind of start adopting that mindset, even if it's like a minuscule scale, by not doing free trials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you mentioned that the main moving factors in terms of getting clients is obviously acquisition and, actually reaching out to a hell of people and then taking those sales calls. What would you say to someone that's like scared of that? Because we've all been through that. Your first sales call or sending messages, you're like, I'm saying the wrong thing. What's kind of some advice you'd give to?
Oh yeah, just when you said that, the first thing that came into my mind was like, I sent 2,347 emails to sign my first client. So that's your goal.
And that's manual?
That's
emails?
manual personalized emails.
Wow.
When I was starting out. So that's the thing. That's your goal. Your goal is not 10K a month. Your goal is to send 2,300 emails. That's your goal. Like then it's pretty easy to track. Like I sent 100 today, quite a few thousand to go,
Yeah.
That's the goal, because those inputs will lead to the outputs based on like the industry averages. And the thing is, that is with good systems. That's the importance of mentorship and coaching and stuff like that, and courses. And people look at courses and like, oh, scam. Like, yeah, a lot of people are, but like, if you actually got the right mentor, he can help you so much. And that's with good systems. Like I had like a 2 to 4% appointment booking rate. And that's really good, especially with cold emails, that's good. And it still took me 2,300 emails to sign a client. And the funny thing is also, it took me 27 sales calls to land my first client. And it took my mentor 40 sales calls. So obviously I learned from him, and it took me 27. So it's a lot of volume that people don't realize how much it takes. And when you're scared, it's like, I was on the sales calls, my hands were sweating, bro, like sweating. I was like, bro, but now I don't even care at all. So you just get used to it. But even with emails, it's like, bro, all you're really doing is lifting your fingers on like a plastic thing, typing and clicking enter. That's all you're really doing. Like remove all the emotions and stuff like that. That's all you're doing. It's all like robotic work.
Yeah.
So when you're sending emails, cold calls, that's a different story. Like I would always recommend, if your niche allows it, do cold calls, because you're learning sales, you're learning in real-time objection handling, you're learning so many things that you can only learn on a sales call, really. So it like mimics that like a bit, but you just have to get over that fear, and the way to do that is just to like
do more
almost
volume.
Desensitize yourself. Yeah.
Makes sense. Are you doing any automated cold email right now?
Not automating. It's all manual at the moment.
Okay.
But like I've got a team that does it.
They manually personalize emails, or what?
Yes.
Don't you think automating that? I know there's a lot of tools now, like Clay. I'm not sure if you know Clay.
I'm not sure of Clay.
It's like AI personalization. It's very good.
Is it like a Loom one? Or something
no,
like that?
It like scrapes info from their websites, and then it makes like really good personalized first lines, and you can actually like, there's a huge skill gap when it comes to it. You have to learn the program very well, but Yeah, I mean, cold email is obviously changing a lot. Like
Yeah.
the automated stuff, you can't send out shitty emails like you could probably a couple of years back.
And the
So, I
thing
mean,
is,
there's
I'm still
definitely
doing
ways.
manual, like, and that's maybe a bit outdated, but it's still working, Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna start implementing. Like, I got a few videos I'm watching, like implementing new tools, stuff like that. Yeah.
For sure. And another thing I wanted to touch on is, so you charge 10K per month. That's obviously probably more than most people are, think they can charge. But it's a premium service. So my question is,
Yes.
how do you position yourself as a premium service? And it kind of flows into what we do, which is content marketing. The main, selling point of what I do for, helping people grow on YouTube and position themselves as an authority is the more authority you have through content, the higher you can charge, right? That's one of the amazing things. So in terms of, just charging more, what would you say are the main ways you can position yourself as a premium service?
So the real thing is, like, you want to really explain the value you are providing. And that sounds like so cliche, I know, but like with our content agency, I tell them, yo, we're gonna create you like 9 of these satellite accounts. That's like satellite accounts is like the the Eman Gadget reels, like that type of accounts, but obviously personalized to the creator. We create 9 of those and we post 30 videos a day. Like, that's the thing. And we post, like, how much is that? Well, it's 27 videos a day, including if they do the main account, stuff like that. But it's like 162 videos a week. That's a shit ton of videos. And that's already valuable. And I also anchor that to who's already doing it in the space, and I tell them, yo, look at him. He's doing that. Or Mosey is posting like 4,000 videos a month or something, or like 15,000, like crazy amounts of numbers. And I just tell them, like, if you want to achieve similar results, or not even similar, but like want to get to that level, like, you have to be posting a lot more. And also, I've worked with like Mike Tyson, I was part of Eman Gadget's content team. Like, that's also obviously a part of it. Like, not everyone's got the same journey, but obviously use what you've got. And I've obviously worked with them, so obviously I'm going to use that as a testimonial. But really, when it comes to the value, it's also like, how comfortable do you feel when you mention the price? That's so important. Like, you should only price what you feel comfortable of charging. Like when you mention the price, it's like, oh, it's 10K a month. You don't want to be like, oh, it's 10K. Like, you don't want to.
And then you start trying to justify it because
I just say, so the investment's 10K a month, and then I just stay silent.
Yep.
That's what you do, because you already mentioned what you're going to provide, right? And that's just how you do it. Obviously, it comes with practice. I've done over 300 sales calls, so it comes with time.
Yeah. And I mean, looking from people in your program before they join, when they're beginners, what would you say is the most common mistake you see people making when trying to sign their first clients?
Common mistakes. That's a good question. So, really, so what you don't want to do is, like, Charlie Munger says, you always want to invert, right? So, what would cause you to never sign clients, okay? So, you're probably not consistent with outreach. You're probably not sending to qualified people who you want to target. You're probably sending emails to everyone and not a specific niche. You don't have an offer. You don't have a guarantee, and we can talk about guarantee as well. But you don't have those things. So if you do the opposite, you'll probably get clients. And the thing about a guarantee is that, a guarantee is just to get people on the call. People don't mention this at all. But when I'm on a sales call, like 99% of the time, people forget about the guarantee because people want the results. People don't want the guarantee, especially these very, very successful people. They don't want the guarantee. Like, they want the results. So they forget about the guarantee, and you just provide them with the results. That's why one of our clients has stayed with us for 11 months, close to a year, because we actually get them results every single month. So that's what you don't want to do, is like, don't do the cold outreach, don't stay consistent, don't have an offer, don't have a guarantee. Like, if you don't have a guarantee in your email, you won't book any meetings because everyone has one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the guarantee, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually customize your guarantee also. You don't have to have like one set guarantee for every single client. Like, if you believe you can get better results for the one client, you can simply customize the guarantee a bit for them. It's basically just, looking at what you can achieve for them and then saying, I'll get you that, or you don't pay, whatever. Like, for us, we don't do like 100% back. Like,
no.
We'll just do like, okay, if I'm really confident, I'll say we'll refund like 50%, like something like that.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I say, if we don't get you these results, we'll refund 50% of the investment.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah. And in terms of, obviously there's a lot of strategies, and it kind of differs to where you are in your journey. Like, no one starting out should be doing paid ads. Like, stay away from that. And then it obviously differs depending on where you're at. What would you say are some strategies that people should avoid when starting out? Like, you just shouldn't do that, like, from your experience.
I would definitely not recommend starting paid ads.
Yeah.
Like if you're starting an agency, you're making like 1 to 2K a month, I would not recommend ads because you need to spend at least 2K a month on ads. So unless you're not making money. So what I would recommend is all you really can do is cold outreach, like cold DMs and cold emails. And you can do content as well, but that's going to take like 2.5 years to really get your clients in. Obviously, I still recommend doing the cold outreach and doing content on the side.
Just to boost up the cold outreach.
Exactly,
but you
that helps a
expect
lot.
it to become like this inbound printing machine. It should just be like, oh, they search your name, they check you have content, they watch it, get nurtured.
I just want to see like, that's the new CV. It's like your Instagram profile. Like that is the new CV. Like CV is pretty useless right now. I even tell my parents and a lot of other people, like I can walk into a company and get the top marketing role without a degree. Because like insane. I just got the confidence. Confidence is big. Like I don't think people really talk about this. Like on a sales call, especially when you're starting out, it's all confidence because you gain confidence in three ways. It's through your offer. Like if you have a crazy offer and a crazy guarantee, then that's a lot of confidence. Like wow, you're so confident you can deliver that. Your service must probably be good. Okay. But the thing about offers is anyone can say anything.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's the thing. And then it's your clients. So if you've worked with big people and you've got them amazing results, that increases your confidence. But when you're starting out, you don't have an offer, or you do have an offer, but like it's commoditized. Like anyone can really say anything, really. You don't have any clients, so what's left? It's you. Like all that's left. And people say, how do I start my first client? It all comes down to confidence in your future self to get them results. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, all it is the offer plus proof of fulfilling the offer. Like that's literally, it's like, okay, you're offering me this crazy thing. Can I see that you've done it for other people? Like, selling is pretty much that. Like, they're gonna buy from you if you have those two things: proof and a good offer.
That's why the first client is so difficult. That's why it took me 27 sales calls to land my first client, and that's pretty decent. You know, my mentor making $1 million a month at the moment signed his first client in 40 sales calls. So based on that, I'll be making $2 million a month. No, I'm kidding. But like, you know, so yeah, it's very important to learn from people ahead of you.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of flows into my next question, which is about networking and kind of the part of, it's networking in itself, but also how networking, you can do it with mentorships and like programs you're in. What kind of role is networking, why do I keep fucking up that word? Networking and
I can never say the word trajectory, bro. Like when I'm on YouTube.
You just cooked it.
Yeah.
Nah, that was good. Yeah, networking and just meeting other people doing the same thing. Because one thing about living in South Africa, you don't meet that many people apart from once you get into these groups and, you know, it's international people a lot of the time. Like when you think about South African agency owners, you probably couldn't name, you know, that many. So it's like you're kind of not exposed to it a lot when you're starting out. But then, yeah, you kind of just meet people along the way. So what's kind of that been like for you, and how much has it benefited you?
Yeah, so I would say overall, networking is overrated. I'll explain why. You know, overrated essentially just means people value it more than it really is valuable. Okay, so I'm not saying it's not valuable. It's very valuable, but it's overrated. Like people think it's more valuable than it really is. So networking, I think at the start is pretty important. Like let's say you are just starting out, you know, getting in a room and seeing people making like 10, 20K a month, you making like 2 to 5K a month. It's like, oh goodness, like you're just surrounded by people making more than you. But once you're at like the 20K stage and you're building like a good product or building a valuable service, that's what's important. Because once you build something valuable, like we are like with the School of Athens, like our community and product is like, it's like an asset, you know, we can build it, we can see how it's growing, there's more people coming in, it's amazing. So, you know, there's compound, like you can actually see it. But when you're delivering a service, it's like sign, client, deliver services. Like there's no real compounding effect taking place. So if you build something valuable, right, like the product, the network will come, right? Because people want to join your thing now. So we're getting big names on the podcast, are we building that? The community is growing. And people want to be a part of that. So just build something valuable. But in the start, networking is pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess it's also for the environmental thing. Like, you know, being in a room with people doing the same thing, it kind of shifts your mindset, especially when you're coming from an upbringing or an environment. Let's say use South Africa as an example, where you're not really exposed to that. So at the beginning, it's, you know, very important to just change the way you think and change the way you view just money in general. And the only way to really do that is to, you know, be around people doing the same thing.
So here's the thing about environment. You know, most people are externally driven. I was more internally driven, like 80-20. So essentially, I'm 80% internally driven. So like, when it comes to changing limiting beliefs and which is most of the problems people face, like I do that internally. Like I don't really get much value, well, 20% of value, right, from external things. It's more internally, like I need to feel worthy, of achieving these goals, and I need to change these limiting beliefs, and I need to think a certain way, and I do that internally. So when it comes to like networking and stuff like that, to tie it into networking, it's like, yeah, a lot of people get value from that, but I don't necessarily as well. So I might be a bit biased in that way, but it's also personal to me, right? So I just like to process things internally, and that's where I get most of the value. Like the external stuff is like 20% of it.
I'm curious, what do you think is the most common traits between you and your successful, people that you know, in terms of mentally?
Common trait, I would say, most of them, when they don't even have anything to show for that, they knew they were gonna make it. They just knew. Like there's no other way, right? Like I always knew winning was the only option. Like, I wrote a tweet that said like, you will not die a loser. That means winning is inevitable. Like there's just no other way. And I see a lot of other, especially guys. Well, is that a fly in my mouth, bro? Oh my goodness.
Almost cooked you, bro.
Anyway, it doesn't want me to spit some fire. Anyway, a lot of these guys, like, they always knew from the start that we're gonna bring in results. Like that's the big thing, because that's the only thing that's really gonna push you through all this, all the suffering and all the stress and stuff. Like, why would you go through that if you were like uncertain of making it?
Yeah.
If you like, I don't know. Like I always knew, like no matter what, like even when you said at the beginning, like we would go broke, homeless, we would still try and run up this agency, right? So that's a common trait I see as well. That's like the biggest thing. That's like the 80-20. Because that's like Tony Robbins said, success is 80% psychology, 20% strategy, and that's the 80%. Like that's the thing you should focus on the most. It's just truly believing you'll make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, shifting gears from that, talking about where you're at right now, obviously a big part of what you're doing is the mentorship. Obviously, you still got the agency running in the back. I know a lot of people, they shut down their agencies to go all in on courses, which obviously isn't it. But tell me, like, what's like the strategy behind the mentorship and how are you kind of growing that?
Yeah, so the thing I just want to mention quickly about, people quitting the agency and stuff like that. If it's bringing in good value, good money, it's a good cash flow business, like it's not necessarily bringing in like 100K a month or something, but like a consistent 30K a month, that's a good cash flow business to then use in ads in your consulting, which is more leverage. You can sign more clients and ultimately make more money. So you can just use that. Like obviously there's a lot of value in quitting a business because of focus. Okay, like if you focus on just the consulting, like we would massively scale that. But at the moment we are in like a transition phase where we're just using that cash flow to fund the consulting business. So that's that. And when it comes to actually getting clients for the consulting, so all you really can do is, as I mentioned, like, content, outreach and ads. So we are essentially implementing all of that. Like that's all you really can do. You can do affiliates and stuff like that as well. But that's just other clients getting you clients. So it's essentially, they are doing cold outreach for you. So it's still cold outreach in a sense. It's just other people doing it for you. So we are focusing a lot on the podcast, but that's just providing a lot of value. We're not necessarily pitching as much. On my YouTube, I do a bit more of that. It's like obviously a lot of value, and then if they want to join, they can join. And we're doing a lot of outbound as well. Setting people on the call, and if they're a good fit, if we can help them, like sure they can join. So that's essentially our process.
And you find that outbound works well for consulting? Because one of the things that I've found to be true in the past is that for people who do like consulting courses, whatever it may be, inbound is always going to be your best bet because people need to know, like, and trust you when they, buy that type of stuff from you. But I mean, you saying it's working well, what's kind of your experience with outbound versus inbound for the consulting?
Yeah, so, I mean, both is obviously better because at the moment, they're working on commission. So it's like, 5% on deal closed. So it's like a 5% risk, which isn't bad at all. And they are getting their name out. Like, let's say they're not qualified. We're sending over, sales assets like YouTube videos, the podcast. We're sending the free community over. So over time, we are nurturing them. They're going over through the free community. They're getting value there, solving their problems for free. And then they can join the paid one if they want to. So it's very, very organic. Like, we just want to help as much people as possible, make them their first 1 to 2K a month. And then from there, if they want to scale even further, they know exactly where they need to go.
And I'm guessing, obviously, appointment setting and DMs is how you book most of your appointments for this. But, like, what's kind of been the role of YouTube in this process, and how's that helped with getting clients for the consulting?
Yeah, so content is really everything. Like personal branding, it's everything. That's why we're going all in on the podcast. We're going all in on our, Instagram, YouTube. Like that's really everything, because you want people to come to you. Like that's the best leads. The highest LTV of a client, the best close rate. They pay more upfront. It's just they're coming to you, so the sales dynamic is different. Like it's the same thing in dating. Like when you're cold approaching, it's like there's this barrier. But when a girl's coming to you, it's just like it's too easy. So it's the exact same thing with inbound. When they're coming to you, like they are qualifying themselves. So it's just so much better. But the only thing is, it takes like 3 years. So
to get content to work.
Exactly, to get content to work, to see people you as authority figure, all of that. It takes like 3 years, and you don't want to go starving for 3 years. So to make your first $250,000, it's outbound, and then from there you can do ads, and by then your content will be doing well.
So what's the plan? Just scale up the YouTube as far as possible?
Yes. So especially now, like I was on a call with Ty Lopez, like a one-on-one mentorship call, and he said, you want to find, especially now, you want to find your unique edge. Because every single strategy is tested. There's no new strategies. It's just different packaging. All of it's the same. Everyone's doing like outbound content and ads. Like that's all people are doing. So it's just, who do you want to invest with? Like who do you relate more with? In South Africa, obviously, there's not anyone doing it here. So it's like, it's a lot more relatable, right? And that's essentially what I'm going for. It's like that unique edge. And that's the big thing now, especially with personal brand. Everyone becoming a creator, everyone posting online. You want to find your unique edge, and through that, people will invest in you.
And with the content, do you find that you want to be targeting South Africans because you're South African and that's kind of what's unique to you? Or do you find that people don't really have money to invest here in consulting?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, business is the closest cousin to war, right? So war and business is very, very much alike. And the thing I don't like is people, like let's say South African entrepreneurs, right? Obviously, we want to go global, right? But first, you need to conquer your country. Like, first, you need to conquer your city. It's like, as I mentioned, it's the same thing as war. Like, if you in England, and you want to go straight to South Africa, it's like, bro, you haven't even conquered your own country. So first, find your unique edge, and that's obviously the South Africans. There's a blue ocean, but the purchasing power is a bit less, which I can touch on. So it's a blue ocean. Like, everyone who wants to invest will probably invest in us, because it's like the biggest in South Africa. And then once that's done, we are like the South African company. Then we can go global, because we are number one at something. And then you have a unique edge in the world. That's how you go about it.
And yeah, in terms of the purchasing power, how much lower have you found it to be?
Yeah, I mean, the average salary in South Africa after like a 1-year degree, I'm not taking like the entire South Africans, but let's say working employees is like, let's say 20,000 a month, close to that. I'm not quite sure. So after 2 months, 3 months, they have more than enough money. If they're saving most of it, they have more than enough money to invest. It doesn't really matter. Like, even when I invested in my mentorship, it was $10,000, and I did not have 10K to just spend like that. So I split it up into 6 payments, broke it down even further, and I paid off the 10K. So really what we want is like everyone has at least if you're working, saving up a couple months, 20,000 Rand. Okay, let's just say 20,000 Rand. Like, that's doable. And from that you can invest, we can help you make more money, and then you can pay off the program. So, who wouldn't spend, let's say, $10,000 like I did to make $250,000? Like, who wouldn't do that? And that's essentially what it helps with.
Yeah, I mean, the first course that I bought about a year ago was about 40,000 Rand. So like 2K, whatever it was. And yeah, people looked at me like I was crazy when I told them. Because it's just people aren't, willing to invest so much because they don't understand the potential ROI.
Yeah.
So I guess you find that they are willing to invest, or is it more like a thing of, no, that's too much, because they still think about it in rands? Like, they might have the money, like let's say they have 50,000 Rand saved up, but to spend 50,000 Rand on a course, do you find that they're not willing to do that? Or
I think that's all a limiting belief. Like, I was also South African, and I just think in dollars with most things. I'm like, yo, that was like $2. Like, wow, let's do it. Because I get paid in dollars, obviously. So you want to kind of make that mindset shift, because you're only going to work with US clients. Like, I would suggest that. Just go to US clients. You can charge way more. It's an easier sell because they're used to it as well. And the funny thing is, with US and South Africa, there's like a 2 to 3 year, let's say 2-year lag. So if something is trending in the US, 2 years later, South Africans are going to catch up. Okay? So let's say agency is, trending. It was like literally a year ago. So in a year from now, South Africans are going to catch up and be like, oh, wow, I can start an agency, like I can actually make money from this, and then we will be at the frontier of it. So that's the thing. You look at the US, see what's trending at the moment, and implement that now. And in two years, you're going to be at the forefront of in South Africa.
So, I mean, obviously YouTube is going to be the easiest way for you to reach, all these South Africans.
Yes.
In terms of the YouTube strategy, is that, a big part going forward? Just creating content and building that personal brand, using the, in your titles, mentioning South Africa, mentioning how you came up. Is that the main focus, just becoming the biggest social media marketing guy in South Africa?
Basically, yeah, that's it. I mentioned a lot of South Africa because obviously I'm from here, and I feel like, like the talent here is amazing. People only want to hire South Africans. It's an absolute gold mine. You can earn in US dollars. It's voted the best city in the world, literally by Time Magazine. Best food in the world, best prices, best people, best sunsets. Like, it's the best city in the world out of like 1,000 cities. Like, and you can earn in US dollars and live like this in like 2 years. Gold mine. So that's why I say there's a lot of opportunity here, and people just need to change their mindset up a little bit.
For sure. And switching gears from that, I know you said that you were internally driven a lot starting out. You always knew that you wanted to do this. But obviously, I'm sure there's been some mindset changes from when you started versus where you are now, just having, achieved this type of success. What would you say are the biggest mindset shifts you kind of had starting out with agency versus where you are at right now?
I'm trying to think, because I always knew, like from the start.
Yeah.
Mindset shifts. Like, I don't really, or like when a problem, like this is the thing, I just became better at stress management. Or like, when a problem hits, like you're gonna experience a lot of problems, like especially in your journey. So it's just being able to deal with that. Like now, when something shit happens, like, I have to, pay team members, or like whatever happens, like a client leaves or whatever, like you need to be able to just be completely stoic with that. And that also comes with its own complications, because you don't experience the highs and lows of life anymore. Like you're very, very like in the middle, stoic, because you can't let something bad in your business affect you entirely. Like you can't go like, crumble and just lay down there and do nothing. Like you have to kind of just like deal with it, just be stoic, because that's what it requires. But also that means you won't be able to experience life the fullest, like the up and down emotions. So I'm definitely working on that a bit more. A lot of entrepreneurs, they're kind of like, they don't have any emotions, because that's what it takes. But then you need to cultivate the new skill of actually enjoying life. Because especially now, in this age of abundance that we're living in, like the problem now isn't starvation, but it's literally being obese. Like the problem now isn't, doing lots of work. Like, 50 years ago, everyone worked. Like there was always a time they worked on the farm. There was always work to do. Now the problem is boredom, because of AI and like all this automations and stuff. The problem is boredom, and also, what was it, like obesity, just being sedentary. So now the real challenge is actually having fun. That's crazy. Like, in this age of abundance, is being able to enjoy it. Like that's our challenge. Like, in 50 to 100 years ago, the challenge was working hard and providing for your family. Now the real challenge is, actually having fun and enjoying this abundance. Like we need to actually enjoy it. Like you have more money than you know what to do with. In the next 100 years, everyone's going to be wealthy with like robots doing all the work. You literally have to do nothing. So people are going to be more depressed. But now the challenge is being happy, and also that is very, very important. Like people think, Epicurean lifestyle, just having fun. Like that sounds kind of boring, but like that's the real challenge now. Like that is it. And if we don't actually solve that problem, it's going to leave a lot of problems for future generations. Like that's our challenge now.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of flows into my next question, which is, obviously I know you're a big gym guy. What are kind of like some of the main habits that have helped you, number one, just enjoy the process of, scaling agencies, because it's not easy and you need to have things outside of it that kind of keep you motivated internally. And yeah, kind of tell me, what are like some of the main habits you picked up or you always had that kind of make this process more fun and also easier?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely consistency is the main thing. Like I've skipped one day in the past 6 years in the gym. Like one day I've skipped, and it's probably today.
You go every day?
Every day. Like wow. I'm probably 6 days a week, but like rest week, rest day, like that's accounted in for. Like there was never a day when I knew, okay, today's legs, today's chest, I did not go for the past almost 7 years now. In like 2 weeks, it'll be 7 years.
Wow.
Actually, no, it's 8 March I started. So that's really the main thing. It's consistency, because I wanted to say how I do one thing is how I do everything, but I don't quite, think that anymore. But still, you definitely build like this internal discipline and consistency that you can then use in your agency. Like Alex Emoji also said that, in your early 20s, get in shape first. You don't realize how many meta skills you learn by doing that and then translating that over the agency. Like you might start a bit late, in like 22, 23, you're like just starting your agency, but if you've been going to the gym for 5 years, you're already like 2-3 years ahead of people. Just by having that discipline and skills, you're probably in shape, you can manage your emotions, you're healthy, you don't have brain fog. That's a lot of skills that people don't necessarily have that you can use to advantage.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things with people, they get rich, but then, let's say someone gets rich at 35, 40, 50, and you're out of shape, and the whole point of making money is to actually enjoy it and to live a lifestyle that the money allows you to live. But it's all about just having fun in the end of the day. And you kind of can't have as much fun as if you're out of shape. It's like, would you rather be a fit 25-year-old millionaire or the fat 60-year-old? Like, obviously, it's kind of how that goes. And that's why you kind of just have to be an overall person. Like, you can't just have money.
Yeah.
You can never just leave everything else.
Yeah, that's why we teach in the School of Athens, we teach both health and wealth. I don't think anyone's really doing that. Like, I don't know of any product that sells, how to actually achieve freedom with your lifestyle business and also stay in shape while doing that. The biohacking, Quinton, like my business partner, he's got the blue light blockers, like, the amount of fiber he eats a day, the protein, like every single meal is optimized, walks for an hour a day, sunset, all of this, like biohacking stuff. And that's very important, like to actually stay healthy while running your business, because then you won't experience this, this fluctuations. You'll be like calm, cool, collected, a lot of energy, and also the financial freedom. Like, you don't want to be the guy, like when everyone's making money, to not be in shape. Because if everyone's got money, then it's really like the commodity. So now if you're in shape, you like kind of stand out. And you're obviously a 7 out of 10 in everything is better than like a 10 in money and like a 5 in physique and like a 5 in social skills. If you're like a 7 in everything, you are like top 0.1%.
Yeah, I mean, as a man, the main two things are always going to be your health and fitness and money. Like those. So if you just have, I mean, as you said in your program, just focusing on the two most important things as a man, that's kind of the two biggest things people should focus on. So that's the best way they can learn it.
Exactly. And the School of Athens is also like, the Greek mythology, like, what you call it? It's like philosophy, right? And I feel like now, especially with AI, where boredom is going to be the main thing, people are going to pivot towards philosophy because they don't know what to do. Like, they don't know what's going on. Like, they have all these questions. So they have so much time to think, and they're going to pivot all to philosophy. So it's a very, very long-term play as well. Long-term decision making.
Yeah, so in terms of, someone who wants to improve their health / the main things that you guys teach in School of Athens regarding philosophy, health, and fitness, for myself and just people watching, what would you say are the 5 biggest things anyone can implement, like, in terms of health and fitness today or in the next week? That'll get you the best results.
Yeah, just for some credibility, like for the past 2 days, I got a 100% sleep score for the past 2 days, so which is pretty good. When it comes to health, would you say like, physique related or just like health in general?
I'll say both.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
So definitely heavy resistance training, like that's one of the biggest things. I'm very, very into that. And you want to kind of do things, I think you briefly mentioned that as well. You do just for the sake of doing it. The reason I was so consistent is because I love lifting weights. Like, that's the biggest thing. I just love lifting weights. I don't care about the outcome. It's that whole thing about, the man who enjoys the destination, that old quote, the more than the end destination is that. Like, I just enjoy lifting. I don't care about the end outcome. I just focus like, how heavy can I lift today? And also, some things about sleep is like, getting your blue light blockers like 2 hours before you go to bed.
One of those, actually.
It's massive. It's massive. And also not eating like at least 3 hours before you go to bed. And just having like a wind down routine. Even me, who's like I can manage my emotions pretty well, stress management, all of that. I still struggle with like the recovery side of things. Like I'm tracking my, HRV and stuff like that, and recovery. Like, and big thing comes down to stress management. And even me who's got like, wind down routine, doing all of these things, it's still like, 60%. So I can't even imagine some people are still doing sales calls like 30 minutes before they go to bed. Like I have like a 2 hour, not like a routine, but like 2 hours before I go to bed, I switch my laptop off completely. And then I'm just like, I'm eating dinner, like I'm just like doing nothing essentially. That's very, very important. And people, they switched on constantly, but you have to switch that off like 2 hours before bed. It's very important, especially for the long term. So that's one of the biggest things for health is stress management, resistance training, going for walks, getting out in the sun, without sunscreen, obviously. We don't have to get into all that whole argument. Yeah, that's really it. Eating whole foods. Like, I really enjoy my diet. Like, I haven't had a cheat day in like years because I really enjoy what I eat. I've never been on a diet, and I look pretty decent. So it's all about enjoying food, whole foods. I eat a steak a day, eggs, just like healthy food.
Got it. Yeah, a lot of helpful stuff there. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, I've had to push, not had to, it's an excuse, had to push health and fitness to the back burner. Even, I go to gym a couple days a week, but it's like one of those things where you think that you have to just grind, work. But in reality, no, you should still put effort into all these other things, health, fitness. And it's something I'm sure a lot of us, people watching also, if they're doing agency, they're saying, getting told to do 16-hour, 12-hour days, and then you're putting everything on the back burner. That's obviously not ideal. You want to still have this stuff going, as you said, straight
that's
7.
That's for a season. Like, for 4 months, I kind of, slacked on my sleep. That's fine. But I still went to the gym, still got my sun. Like, while I was recording my personalized looms, I was out in the sun. So, like, I still kind of try and do like this whole thing. Maybe I didn't get as much steps, but like that was just for 4 months. And I knew like I was a healthy person, so I could get it back pretty quickly. But after you've done that initial stages of like you doing the work and you've outsourced some things and you make like high level decisions, then that's very important.
You can focus on it a bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Last thing I want to touch on, and this is something that I had a conversation about with one of my friends who does, similar internet money stuff, and he was, almost stressed about thinking, how long is this going to last? How long can I continue making money on the internet? Is this something that I need to start saving more? So tell me a bit more about, I was telling him like, no, as long as your service is good and you actually have expertise, like you'll be fine for the next couple of years. Like, don't worry about it. But in terms of your wealth building strategy and just, the plan for the next couple of years and going forward, what is that? Can you run us through that?
That's a good question. So, like Darwin said, it's not the strongest or the smartest who survive, are the most adaptable. So, especially now with AI and stuff like that, the one who's adapting the quickest and who's able to adapt to the environment will win. So, it's not the strongest or the smartest. So, IQ does not matter. Like, if you're not like retarded, you're fine. Okay, like you don't have to have like Warren Buffett IQ. If you want to get to like the hundreds of billions, probably, but like, who realistically wants to go to that length, not, it's like, anyway, so it's the most adaptable. So you really need to, I don't really know how to teach this, but you need to be up to date with everything that's happening. That's why I'm so big advocate of learning, like reading a lot, and it forms your worldview where you can see the world differently. So when it comes to like the wealth building strategies, so first off, here's like the playbook to essentially make like 10 million USD and just like chill. Like, this is the playbook. You run your agency, which is pretty easy. You're done for your service. You scale that to $500,000 a year. Obviously much easier said than done. But like once you started, you can realistically get there in like 3 years. Like, once you start getting clients, 2 to 3 years, you can probably get there. If you do the right work, invest in mentorship, stay consistent, all of that. And then from there, $500,000 a year, the extra effort that's required to get to the next level is not worth it. Like, you can 100% scale your agency to like 100K a month, like you can 100% do that, but the extra effort that's required with like the cut in profit margins, you're gonna hire more team members, you're gonna make like an extra, let's say 50K a month, like let's say $500,000 a year, whatever, that's like 40K, and you make an extra 20K in revenue, you're probably gonna make an extra 5K in profit. So that extra headache is not worth it. And so what we do, to get to $500,000 a year with your agency, and then from there you switch over to consulting, because now you've got like the authority. And who doesn't want to get to 50K a month with their agency? US dollars. That's $1 million a month. Okay, like that's a lot of money. So essentially, then we teach that because you've already done that. And then what's wrong with teaching people to make 50K a month? Like, are you angry about 50K a month? Like, people say, oh, you're teaching it, but you're not doing it. It's like, bro, we've did it. Now we can help other people do it. Like, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, totally. If you see something wrong with that, that's like an internal issue you need to battle with. And then that's the play. And then with that, you can scale that to like, you can scale that to like $1 million a month. Obviously, it's very, very difficult. It's going to take probably like 7 years to do that with that business. So let's say when I'm like 30 years old, close to there, $1 million a month, and then essentially save like 50% of your income, S&P 500. By then, with all these AI tools and everything, AI, prosperity, everything's going to increase. Invest all of that S&P 500. You can do some crypto as well, 20% into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then you're good, bro, honestly. That's like the play. Obviously, not financial advice. I have no idea what I'm doing. Literally no idea. But like that makes logical sense for me.
Yeah, with me, like my main goal is just stack and build like a lump sum, and then obviously with that, separately to my savings, whatever, just try and take a risk, bro. Like on a lump sum. Like I just feel like that's one of the easiest ways to actually build wealth. And obviously you can only do that at a young age. Like if you can't have a big lump sum at 35 and then throw it all away on a high risk investment.
Responsibilities.
Yeah, you've got so the way I see it is like in our 20s, you could lose R1 million on an investment and you wouldn't suffer too much because you can make that back.
Yeah.
So I think, what's your opinion on like taking risks in terms of just in everything, financially and just in general in life in your 20s?
Yeah. So when it comes to risks, like an agency is the most zero risk business you can start because you're not losing anything. Like you might say you're losing time, which is actually more valuable than money, but what you're building in that time is skill sets. So it's actually not a waste of time because you can use that skill sets to make money. So agency is there's no risk really. Like there's literally no risk. With e-com and stuff like that, you can obviously lose some money. Agency as well, like if you're running ads, but like I would just opt for I wouldn't really do a high risk place. Like I would just do the long-term safe thing. Especially if you're like 20 and invest in S&P 500 or other big companies. Like I've got a investment manager who's helping me with like stuff like it's very, very good returns like Nvidia, Apple. Obviously those things can fluctuate a lot. It's like a medium risk returns. So I'm just investing in that, a bit of S&P 500. So just doing like the extremely long-term play, especially in your early 20s. It's going to compound really quickly. So I wouldn't really do like high risk plays. I would just rather opt for the safe route and make like lots of money later.
Yeah, I guess you obviously, no matter what, you should have the money going into the low risk plays. Like that's your savings or whatever it may be. But then with that extra cash, like I think you touched on it, like just put some money into crypto and see what happens. Like obviously it should be after you've paid off everything else, the extra money lying around. Because there's, putting in that extra money when you've already paid everything off.
Yeah, it's actually a rule. You don't have to, obviously, but it's called the 70-20-10 rule. So 70% of your time is spent on the company you are running right now that's bringing in cash flow. Like just spend lots of time there, growing it, maintaining it, doing everything you can to just sustain that. That's 70% of your effort and time and energy, all of that. And then 20% is in like another business that can also fund. It's like not a side business, but like a business you are also growing. That's is like an emerging trend that's happening. Just like that. And then the other 10% is like testing new things, like just throwing 10% can mean like R1 million, 2 million rand, right? Because like it is all percentage based. So if you're making like 100 million, 10%, 10 million, well, let's say a million, 100,000. Okay, let's just say that.
Yeah.
100,000 just like spend on like crazy shit, like some crazy new meme coin or something like that. That's also because that can really exponentially grow, but it's 10% of your income, so it's not, it's a bit more high risk. So like 70-20-10 is a good rule to follow.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna ask. No, I'm just gonna say final thoughts now. What time are we on? Hour now. Oh, okay. No, it should be good. All right, Andro, to the viewers watching, do you have any final thoughts? Something you want to leave them with in terms of next steps, first action steps, or just anything in general?
Yeah. So if you've already watched like an hour of this video, you already know that you want to achieve the next level. Like you like no one's just watching like an hour of this and just being like, okay, back to my normal life. You're like, you obviously want more. So the last thing you want to do is just like go back to your comfortable job or whatever and just do the main thing. Just do your thing, right? Like you need to take that risk because like that pain of you knowing that something like this is possible in like 2 years, you can essentially achieve financial freedom within reason. That pain is going to eat you up from the inside. Like you can't let that just sit there. You have to take action on that. Because you would rather take, this the whole thing about the pain of regret weighs like ounces and the pain of regret weighs tons and the pain of discipline weighs ounces. So I would rather take that route. And it's like, you can really do it. Like, we're not special at all. I got like, 60s, 70s in high school, like nothing special at all. I just knew I was meant for more, and everyone listening to this probably has a bit of that as well. And then you can't squander that. So you need to really take action. And it's really like, people think that when they aim high, there's a lot of competition. No. Like when you look at a job application at like the 50th percentile, like an entry level role, it's like packed. There's like files and files of CVs, but like the CEO role, there's like 3. You know, there's no competition at the top because everyone's too scared to think big and aim high. Everyone's too scared to do that. So when you actually aim high, it's like your chances of succeeding is way bigger. It's like this whole Elon Musk thing, like he wants to go to Mars. Then all the big people's like, if you have a big vision, people's vision can enter into that as well, right? If you can aim big, you can actually achieve way more than people think.
Yeah, and I mean, just taking the risk, like, the best thing I ever did in my life was just starting an agency. Like, anyone watching should just be like, fuck it. Like, if you haven't started an agency now, it's like, and you're consuming the content about agencies, like, what are you doing? End of the day, you could fail. You could make zero money, but like, why would you just not do it? Especially when you're seeing people like you who've had this amount of success. It's like, just start it, do the input, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, cool, at least you tried.
Yeah, like, you know, failing, what is failing really? Like, the only way to fail is to quit, right? And quit is just like stop doing the actions, essentially. But success and failure is on the same road. You know, failure is just an earlier exit. You're doing the exact same thing. Like, you just continue with that path. That's why a lot of, I saw this reel of me and Quentin, it was like 2 years ago. He was filming me in the gym, and it was like, you know, what's the best piece of advice? That's all like cliche thing. I'm like, just keep going. Like, because if you just keep going, winning is inevitable. If you quit, you lose. So you just literally need to keep going. And I will say that till the day I die, because like, that's all you really can do.
Cool. Andro, appreciate you having on.
Of
Yeah, if anyone wants to check out Andro's stuff, I'll leave the links in the description. Check out his Instagram. And yeah, peace.